In WebAIM's recent 2025 report, they evaluated the accessibility of the top 1 million homepages. I'll speak about some of the report's findings. First of all, what is WebAIM and what did they do? WebAIM is a leading provider of web accessibility expertise and provides accessibility solutions too. I took some of the findings from their study that I found were interesting, and I'll go over those. So the first is this right here. Across the 1 million homepages, 50,960,288 distinct accessibility errors were detected, an average of 51 errors per page. The number of detected errors decreased 10.3% since the 2024 analysis, which found 56.8 errors slash page. The homepages tested had over 1.2 billion page elements. Homepage complexity continues to steadily increase from an average of 1,173 elements in February 2024 to an average of 1,257 elements per homepage in February 2025, a 7.1 increase. Users with disabilities would expect to encounter errors on 1 in every 24 homepage elements. So, after looking at these findings, I'm interested in seeing what these accessibility errors are, and there is a table with exactly that information. And you can see low contrast text is at the very top, coming in at 79.1% of home pages, and that's the most common WCAG 2 failures. And then you also have missing alt text, missing form input labels, empty links, empty buttons, missing document language. So low contrast text was found on 79.1% of homepages, like I mentioned before. This was the most commonly detected accessibility issue. On average, each homepage had 29.6 distinct instances of low contrast text, down 14.4% from 34.5 in 2024. Homepages are becoming increasingly graphical. There were over 58.6 million pages in the sample, or 58.6 images per homepage on average, a 5.4% increase over 2024. 18.5% of all homepage images, 11 per page on average, had missing alt text. Okay, not counting alt. Okay, wow. 13.4% of images with alt text had questionable or repetitive alt text, such as alt image, graphic, blank, file name, etc., or alt text identical to adjacent text or the alternative text of an adjacent image. This data shows that one may expect nearly 1/3 of the images on popular homepages to have missing, questionable, repetitive alt text. Wow. 16.3% of homepages had more than one H1, a decrease from 16.8% in 2024. There were 1,088,074 instances of skipping heading levels, for example, jumping from H2 to H4, 1 in every 23 headings. Wow. Skipped heading levels were present on 39% of all pages, up from 37.9% in 2024. 9.8% of pages had no headings present at all, down from 11.3% in 2024. Wow. 13.7 of pages had ambiguous link text such as click here, more, continue, etc., an increase from 13.2% of pages in 2024. These pages had 6.8 instances of ambiguous links on average. Okay, so when I read all these facts, it comes to my mind that these are low hanging fruits of accessibility. Uh, and currently in the digital space, these still remain an issue despite years of advocacy, guidelines, and even regulations. So most of these errors, they can be fixed without compromising the look and feel of the product, which is generally a reason designers or product managers may neglect accessibility because it'll negatively affect the look and the feel of the product. I'll show some methods on how to easily fix these low-hanging fruit accessibility issues and make products more accessible. It doesn't require lots of effort to do that. So let's start off with what we have here. Low contrast text. So low contrast text can be easily fixed by a contrast checker. This is a site right over here. That's great for that, webaim.org. And now it's even made it more easier after Figma's update. There is a built-in contrast checker, which makes it quick and easy to check for accessibility issues, right? So let me just show you real quick how that's possible. You can just click on what you want to check for the contrast. You go to fill right here, and you can see that they've added this part right here. Contrast standard has been met. You can also look at the color values. You can look at the foreground and the background here as well. And when it is not met, you can see contrast standard has not been met. So Figma has something built in for contrast checking. So you can take a look at that and you don't have to go to another website to do that. So let's go on to the next one. Next up is alt text. Alt text, it provides text substitute to a image. It's helpful for people who are visually impaired and rely on a screen reader to have the content of the website read to them. Alt text should represent the content and function of the image, and these are two things that you have to keep in mind when writing alt text for images. So we'll look at function first. An image has a function if it's linked or if it's in a tag. So for example, a button tag or an area tag. So this is pretty straightforward. The content is a little bit more complex. So assessing and summarizing a picture requires you to look at the context. So it's some important tips that you should consider when writing for alt text. It should be accurate and equivalent in representing the content and function. It should be concise without sacrificing accuracy. It shouldn't be redundant, so make sure it doesn't provide the same information as a text near the image. No image of, graph of, portrait of. Screen readers will already announce image along with alt text. And context really matters here in providing the alt text. There can be a whole video about alt text because it can be tricky depending on the image and context in question. So let's move on to descriptive links. Every link should make sense when read by itself. Screen readers may choose to read only the links on a web page. Certain phrases like click here and more must be avoided. The link text should convey the purpose of the link. So for example, if a button is linking to the contact information page, it should be as part of the button text instead of click here. Concise and accurate links are less likely to frustrate screen reader users than long and imprecise links. Remember that for some users, they are relying on listening to the screen readers, so a long link means those users will have to listen to the entire text. So let's take a look at this text over here and point out some issues. First, click here is hyperlink, making this a vague link for people navigating with screen readers. Second, the content can be more inclusive and accurate in the experiences people experience for this particular application. Not everyone is using a mouse to navigate. Some people could be using a keyboard, screen readers. Some people may be on tablets or mobile. So how can we make this more accessible and inclusive? So I've already done that over here. I hyperlink the title of the document. In this case, it's 2025 org chart. Second, I changed the copy to be more inclusive by adding visit instead of click here. So let's go on to logical order heading, right? It's important to avoid skipping heading levels. Headings need to be in logical order, so H1, H2, H3, and so forth, all the way to 6. The reason for this is because screen readers rely on this heading structure for navigation. An illogical order will make it difficult for screen reader users to know which heading describes the content. Some reasons why developers or designers or web editors may run into this issue is to apply styles on a page. Empty headings can be placed to adjust the page layout, but it would still be announced to screen readers as headings. Sometimes web builders want to increase the size of text or bold it and use a heading tag. This should be avoided as well. So let's go over some examples. H1, H2 body text, H2 body text. So this is fine. This is accurate. Let's get a passing grade from me. Let's move on to the next one. So H2, we can clearly see here this is following an illogical order. 1 should be here, and 2 should be here. So it'll be 1, 2. 3 is found by text, 3, 4, 3 right here. It's another one, same concept. We just replace these two, and then it should be H3, H4, and then that should be fine.